bags, bottles, straws and plates, about half of the plastic we use every day is used only once and then thrown away. And that's causing widespread damage to our oceans, habitats and food chains. And environmental organisations say that needs to stop now. A new report from the Worldwide Fund for Nature documents a dramatic rise in the production of single-use plastics. Since the year 2000, we've used more plastics than in all the years before. We're now producing nearly 300 million tonnes of plastic every year, and most of it is not being recycled. To tackle the problem, the group's calling for an international agreement banning single-use plastics. They say companies producing the waste should be responsible for cleaning up the mess. Sara Khairat has more.
Well, first of all, the Worldwide Fund for Nature has tweeted a petition urgently calling on global leaders to make a legally binding agreement that forces every country to end this environmental crisis by within the next 10 years. Now, it takes all of 15 seconds, actually, to fill that form. But the hashtag Stop Plastic Pollution is being widely used to raise awareness. In fact, this tweeted photo shows you a plastic straw, and it is a reminder of how detrimental it is to sea life. We use an incredible 500 million plastic straws every day, which are then thrown out. And that's why bans on single-use plastic straws are already in effect in several countries, and companies like Starbucks and McDonald's are phasing them out. Now, a group of beachgoers in Australia who are known as the Strawklers are part of a popular conservative effort called Operation Straw to collect plastic from beaches and in the water.
We actually once found an octopus, so there's lots of octopus in this bay, it's full of beautiful marine life, and we found an octopus holding plastic straws in its tentacles, and we actually had to pull them out, so that was a bit of a depressing tug of war.
And the good news is there are alternatives. Other than bamboo and paper straws, edible ones are also an option. You can actually use this straw to slurp up your favourite drink and then eat the straw itself because it's flavoured and made from seaweed. Now, the plastic straw ban is part of actually a wider global campaign to ditch plastic. Now, the world's first plastic-free aisle has opened in Amsterdam, and it's part of a Plastic Planet campaign group that wants to bring it to the UK as well. And Kenya is thought to have the world's strictest or harshest plastic bag ban since 2017, where anyone found using, producing or even selling a plastic bag faces up to 4 years in prison or a $38,000 fine. But that's led to some very creative solutions like this one just here of a school student with her school bag made out of leaves. And speaking of solutions, this island in the Philippines, ruined by tourism, was shut down last year for being, as the country's president described it, a cesspool. Now, a major cleanup operation was carried out over 6 months, and it was back in business in October. While it has left the beaches immaculate and the waters crystal clear, the full rehabilitation of the island's natural habitat can actually take years. And meet the marine robot that could help clean our seas, because the waste and data collector for 16 hours cleans urban waters with no carbon footprint. And the WWF has launched the UK's first waste shark on Monday as part of its efforts to tackle water pollution. And they want people to remember, if it can't be reused again, then just don't use it.
Well, let's get more on this now. We're joined by Euron Dagivos. He's head of programs at Plastic Soup Foundation. That's an advocacy group tackling plastic pollution. And he's joining us live from Amsterdam. Very good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. So this report says that the one thing needed to change the trajectory for plastics growth is accountability, and it's calling for various steps, very specific steps, which will help solve the crisis from governments, businesses and people. What do you think of their recommendations, and also what is the single most important thing that each group can do?
Yeah, I think one of the most critical points that is in the report is that actually states that we need a global standard for plastic leakage into the environment. That's the basic ingredient what's actually missing. If you don't have a standard, if you don't have a goal, what do we need to reach in a certain period of time? Yeah, you don't consider it as a problem. And that's the strange thing. That's actually the situation at the moment. We don't have the standards yet. So a global standardization to regulate plastic leakage into the environment, that's one of the key elements that we need to actually start tackling this problem at the very source.
It is the first thing, actually, that the report calls for. How difficult is it going to be to establish, let alone implement, that standard?
Yeah, the strange thing, and that's actually how we treat plastics. We don't treat it as a normal chemical, and of course it is a chemical substance. So why don't we use the measures and the tools that are already available to start regulating plastics just like any other chemical? So what is the maximum concentration? What are the goals for 2020, 2025, etc.? How are we going to regulate it? And yeah, it's not easy maybe, but it's a big step forward if you start looking at how persistent is the substance, how toxic is it, is it bioaccumulating, and it's very necessary. But because plastics are everywhere,
Yeah.
it's in our food, we are drinking it, and we even breathe plastic. So yeah, the time is there to actually start with this.
And what is at stake for the world's oceans, whose health we, of course, depend on for our own health here?
Yeah, the big problem with the ocean is it's almost impossible to clean. And when we talk plastic, we think about a bottle or a bag, the bigger plastic. Once the plastic is in the ocean, it's actually degrading into microplastic or even nanoplastic. It's very, very small, and it's on a very big scale. And it's entering the food chain. The proof is there. It's entering algae, fish, birds, and it has an effect on life in the ocean. And we are depending on the ocean for food, but also for our oxygen. It's a critical system. You cannot play around with this. And yeah, also the scale is enormous. I mean, 70% of our world is actually ocean. So yeah.
And so which countries would you say are doing well at managing this problem? And who do you expect pushback from on implementing the sort of worldwide regulations that we need now?
Yeah, I think what's going on right now, the government of Norway, they actually are pushing for a global standard on plastics. That's a big step forward. That needs a lot of support, I think. There are some setbacks from countries like the United States, China. They're reluctant in strong language in regulating the plastic emissions. Although I'm convinced that public pressure, especially about this whole topic of plastic soup, that will actually create the momentum to start with taking responsibility and cleaning up the mess and finding the solutions, because the solutions are there. We can do it. And the thing of there's no market for the solution, that is not true. So let's move on.
Mr. Dagevos, it is great to get your expertise on this. We really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. That is Jazeera Dagevos in Amsterdam. Thank you.